Hello everyone, this is General Hand Grenade and welcome to Edmonton, Alberta. I'm at the home of Rank Carcasses. He's another YouTuber. If you're not subscribed to his channel, then you should be. Him and his brother visited me in Prince George at the War Room back in April, I think it was. They came to Prince George and they played a game of Global War. It was my first real game that I played against other people. And I said to him, yeah, I'm coming to your place someday. We're going to play again. And so here I am. I needed to visit my dad in Calgary. And Edmonton is just a few hours north in Edmonton, or is just a few hours north of Calgary. So I made the trip up here and we spent the day today setting up the board and talking about the rules and everything because we're playing with several expansions. But we've kind of changed a few of them a little bit to suit us and to suit so that they would be more compatible with each other. You know, like you get a certain mix of expansion sets and you just want to make sure that they fit with each other, right? That they don't contradict each other. So anyway, if you've seen Rank Carcasses videos before, you know that he had his table out in the rec room and there was always cats on him. But now he has moved it into his own little room here. I'll just show you around. He just did this, so he hasn't fixed up the room yet or anything. But it's pretty good in here. Like, it's bigger than my room for sure. I wish I had this much room. And I like this. He's got these shelves all around it and shelves over here. I wish I had all that. So this is going to be a pretty nice room someday. Like, he just started. There's his little thing there that he puts his camera on when he makes videos. So he's got this thing up here, and I'll show you. Like, he doesn't have the different types of units that I have, and the chips that I have, like the chips that say militia, and you know the says Marine on them, and things like that. What he does is he just puts them on these chips here. So he's got a legend up here, so you know what you're using. So like the white chip there is one. Units. Like most people use gray, but he's using white. And then 3 for green and 5 for red, so that's pretty standard. And then he's using the orange one for a damage chip. And then the pink one, that's a country special. So like Volkstrom or brown shirts, like those would have a pink chip underneath, an infantry for that. And then the gray chip, that would be for light. So it could be light infantry, or it could be a torpedo boat destroyer. Like if you put a gray chip under a destroyer, that would be a torpedo boat destroyer, which is an old destroyer, right? And then if you put a yellow chip under, then that would make a tank a heavy tank, right? And blue for marine, purple for airborne, and then brown for mountain. And then these are the other things that he uses, like he's got his coastal gun and his fortifications and stuff like that. And of course, this black one is oil, because we are using Oil Wars in this one, and I'm really excited about that because I just got the Oil Wars expansion. Here, I'll just set her down over here so you can see an area there where there's lots of oil. Now I'm trying to teach and I'm trying to learn myself back home in Prince George how to play this game, and like I'm kind of getting the hang of it. But it takes a while before you learn how to play this game, even if you've played Axis and Allies for a while, right? It's just a very involved game. And so you don't want to be using any really difficult expansions like Oil Wars on people like that. But I brought it here and I'm really excited to play it because Rank Carcasses is a very experienced player. And so are the people that he plays with, like his brother, and he's got a crew. And it's Wednesday today, but I think we got a guy coming tomorrow or Friday. Anyway, there's going to be a few people popping in and out. I think his brother's going to play with us for a couple of days. Another guy's going to play with us for a couple of days. I don't know if anybody's coming tomorrow, but for sure they'll be here Friday and Saturday. Anyway, so these guys are more experienced players. And so for them, the Oil Wars expansion is just something that they will be easier to, like, they don't have to look up the rules or think about the rest of the rules of the game. They'll just have to learn how to incorporate those rules into their game. And I like that because also I want to see how they deal with it, right? being experienced players, like they're used to playing a certain way with a certain nation. Now all of a sudden they have to incorporate this oil, and how is that going to change their game? You know, I'm kind of challenging them that way. The way it's going to work is Rank Carcasses is going to play the Allies, which I played last time, and I'm going to play the Axis, and one of the other people is going to have to pick up the Comintern. Like Rank Carcass will play them until somebody else comes along, and then they're going to be playing that. And if there's more people, then that's great. Like I'll get one of them to play Japan, and you know, he can get one of them to play America, depending on how many people show up, right? So anyway, there's that. There's the oil wars, but we're playing a few other ones. If you notice here, you see there are some planes. Like here's one here, and you see a few over here, right? And they're on flight stands. Those are my planes. Like I brought all my expansion sets, and so the planes that you see that are on flight stands, those ones are from the elite fighter squadrons. Like here, this one down here, this is the Night Witches fighter, and that's a Russian one. And what it does, it carpet bombs. What they were women, and what they do is they fly up to a German camp at night in the dark when they couldn't see them, and they turn their engines off so that the Germans wouldn't be able to get a beat on them. And then, like, all they could hear is this kind of whistling, right? From the plane moving through the air, but silently. And they drop grenades down on the German camps. But so you can't shoot back at them. But all these elite fighter squadrons, everything does something a little bit different. Like a lot of them are just, you know, plus and minus, or plus one offense and defense, attack and defense. Like this one here is medium bomber plus one attack and defense. This one is just a regular fighter, but this is a French fighter who's going to fight for the Russians until the Comintern is at war with the Allies. If they ever go to war with the Allies, if they ever do that, then they're going to lose that French fighter. The French fighter's not going to fight against the Allies. And one of the rules that we did change, you see this one here, this is a Japanese one. The token underneath is a kamikaze token, and what it says in the rules is that you're supposed to put that token underneath an existing fighter to get an extra kamikaze roll, and I don't get that. Like, why would you waste a fighter doing a kamikaze raid? You know, because you're going to kill that fighter, right? And the other thing is, with these elite fighter squadrons, and there's 15 planes, there's 5 for each side. You're supposed to get them in a certain way, right? And each one of them's different at a certain time. And you got to jump through a flaming hoop, and you know, like, there's all kinds of shit you got to do for each one of them. What we've decided, because there's not many units to start off on this game, and you don't have much income. So what we wanted to do, and what we did last time, and what we're doing this time, is everybody's going to get all 5 of their fighters. And again, that's the way. Before, we didn't even think of it until around 1939. But this time, we liked the way it worked so much last time that we decided to do it at the start of this game. So the fighters are already on the board. The game hasn't even started yet. But there's some pretty interesting units, like this one down here. I don't know if you can see that one. Let me just move this up here. Okay, so the Italian plane down here, what this is a medium bomber, but it's also a torpedo bomber. So against boats, and just against boats, it's got a 1 to 4 target selection. And I can't remember what the numbers are, but the numbers are pretty good for attack and defense. This one right here, this is a Messerschmitt. This is the German plane. This one you can use as either a fighter or a tactical bomber. You just have to decide when you do your combat move what it's going to be. The only one that there's only 14 of them on flight stands right now, because for some reason I forgot the German fighter. So there's one here right now that is on this one here, and that's just a BF 109, and that's +1 attack and defense. So this should be one of my fighters, which it isn't, and it should be on a flight stand. You see what he's done here though, like his fighters all have a red tipped wing, and like his tactical bombers have a yellow tipped wing. So he's color coded everything on here, and I really like that. I think I might do that at some point in the future. Anyway, I don't want to get too far off topic because I wanted to show you these elite fighter squadrons first. So here we have a Mosquito, for the British, and this thing is an early warning thing. So when you can use this like as a tactical bomber, the way a tactical bomber works in the game, or you could take him on a strategic bombing raid with you. Now he's not going to roll any dice in that strategic bombing raid, but what he will do is lower the interception value of any fighters that come up to fight them by 2. So normally a fighter would roll at 3 or less for an interception, and this guy's going to make the opposing fighters roll at 1 instead. So that'll help big time when you're going for strategic bombing raids. And there was another one here. It's this one down here. It's the blue fighter squadron here, and it's a Spanish one. So what the rule says, for instance, you're supposed to get this one here, the Germans, if the nationalists win the Civil War. So what we're going to do is we're just going to give this one here to the nationalists, and they're going to fight. And if the nationalists win the Civil War, then this guy can then fly up to Germany, and then he can be used like he's supposed to be used in the game, in the rules that you get for the elite fighter squadron, which is he can only attack the Russians. He can defend against anybody, like if the British attack Germany and a space where he is, then he can defend, or the Americans or anybody, then he can defend. But as far as an attack, he can only attack Russians. And so that's what that guy's about. Here we have, I think this is just a +1 attack and defense. That's a P-51. But the Americans have a couple more over here as well. Like this is the Black Sheep Squadron there. Again, +1 attack and defense. This guy's like the Messerschmitt. That's a P-49. So he can either be a fighter or a tactical bomber. And I think he's got kicked up numbers as well, right? By +1 attack and defense as well. So there's that, the elite fighter squadrons. And we've done the oil wars. So let me just move around to the other side over there. Let's talk about one of the things we're going to play as well is we're going to play, as we like to do, is Turkey. We're going to play Turkey at war here. And so we had to go through the rules, for instance, and we had to decide, how are we going to do this? How are we going to incorporate it into the rules with oil wars? And so what we're going to do, like what you do is you all try to grease Turkey and try to get them to join your side. And when that happens, like if the Axis win it, then the Italians are going to play it. If the Allies win it, then the French are going to play them. And if the Comintern wins them, then the Russians are going to play them, right? So what's going to happen is if they're controlled by one of those nations, then they're going to have to spend their own oil if they want to do their movement. And then once they're aligned, if you ever align them, that is that like you move them at the same time as you, so you're at war with the same major power as them, whoever that is. Like if the Russians get them, if the Russians are at war with the Germans and the Turks are at war with the Germans, then you're aligned. And so then like your ground forces that cost you 1 to move, well, if the Russians pay 1, then these guys don't have to pay 1. You know what I mean? So they will just work together, kind of like the Commonwealth works together for oil. You don't have to pay 1 oil to move your planes up there, 1 oil to move your planes down here, and 1 oil to move planes over here. The Commonwealth just pays 1 oil and they move their planes everywhere. Well, that's the way it's going to work once Turkey is aligned with a nation. They will just pay together with that nation in order to move. And so if you go to my oil wars video, you'll see how that works. You pay an oil to be at war with other major nations. You pay an oil to move your planes, all except for strategic bombers. You pay oil to move strategic bombers, but not 1 per unit, right? Like you could pay 1 oil to move 1 fighter or 1 oil to move 20 fighters. It doesn't matter, right? you can move as many as you want. It just costs 1 oil. So if you had Turkey as well, then the Turks could move a fighter as well, right? And 1 to move your ground forces, 1 to move your ships, 1 to move your capital ships, and that's again as many as you want. And I think that's about it. And then of course infantry and cavalry, they don't need oil, so you wouldn't use oil to do that. And there's some exceptions, like when you're defending, you don't have to spend oil, like if you're scrambling aircraft, for instance. Anytime somebody's attacking you, it doesn't cost anything to intercept or to do anything, to defend at all. And it doesn't cost anything if you're not moving, even if you're attacking. Like there's a border war up there. You can just shoot across the border without moving and without taking each other out. And so that's not going to cost anything. And the rail movement is not going to cost anything. It doesn't cost anything to move on the rails at all. And which brings me to another thing, and that is that we are going to play with fighting railways. Like you see there's a bit of rail that starts the game. There's one there, and there's one in Moscow, and there's a couple up in Germany there. It's pretty crowded, so I'm not going to get right into it. But we're going to play with the fighting railways, and this will be my first time playing fighting railways, so I'm looking forward to that, seeing how that works out. And what else? Commanders. Commanders is maybe the one that I'm anticipating the most, and that's something that we don't have to change. Like that is so beautifully written, so easy to implement, and yet it helps out so much, like it makes such a big difference in the game that's just going to be fun to play. Where have we got one here? Oh, here's one. Here's a commander here. So if you need to know what they do and how to play it, then I've got a video on commanders. You can go and look at that. Basically what they do is they add 1+1 to attack and defense, whether that's a land fight or whether it's air or whether it's naval. And like your commander, he can move 1 on attack move. He can move 6 on non-combat move, and those are considered air. So like you have a commander here in Britain, you want to non-combat move this guy, you could non-combat move him right across the water. Like you don't need a naval transport to do it, right? Or you could move him on a naval transport if you wanted to. Or you could move him on the railway if you wanted to. But anyway, it's just such a great thing. The only thing it doesn't do is shore bombardment. It does everything, every kind of fighting, including strategic bombing. On both sides of the strategic bombing, like interception and escorting, and but that's the one thing it doesn't do, and that's okay. And it even does it on convoying. The convoy rules are difficult in this game, so you can use your commander on a boat to convoy somebody or to try to stop a sub from convoying. Like you can put them on any kind of ship. It doesn't have to be a transport. It could be a battleship. It could be a submarine. He could ride on any kind of ship, and that's going to make everybody in that zone +1 attack and defense. What else are we playing? We're going to play the Spanish Civil War, but this is probably the one that we talked about the most, because we're doing a lot of complicated things here, right? Especially with the oil wars. I mean, that's going to take a lot of thought. And another one that I haven't even gotten into yet. You'll see what I mean. But we're adding a lot into this game, and I'm only here for a certain period of time, right? I've got to go home, and so we want to be able to make sure that we finish this game. And so we're trying to simplify some of the rules where we can. And probably the one that we're doing the most is the Spanish Civil War here. Now, if you read through the Spanish Civil War, it's pages and pages, and there's lots of stuff in there, right? So we've kind of dumbed it down, and basically the only making 3 changes to the regular Spanish Civil War rules, like without the expansion set. It's the regular rules, except for, I told you about this fighter here. We're adopting one of the rules where, let's say Germany moves a unit in here to fight with the nationalists. Well, it's going to stay a German unit, and it's going to fight with the nationalists. But at the end of the war, it can leave. It can non-combat move out of there. The Spanish forces will have to stay, but that German unit would be able to leave. And the same with a Russian unit or a British unit or whoever. So we're going to do that. We're not going to do the full intervention, partial intervention, and the events, and there's a lot of rules in there that we're not going to do. We are going to do also the supply markers. Anybody can lend lease a supply marker in there if they want to. So we're going to do that. And the last thing, I think, unless I'm missing one, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to do the Elite of the Reich. So I'm going to have all these SS in there. And I'm really looking forward to that because it's a great set. And again, I wanted to make sure I was playing against good players in order to play this. Because this one is going to take some thought. And I really hope that we get more players. More than 3, I mean, because I sure like somebody to take care of Japan for me. I'm just setting something up over here. Okay, let's just grab the camera. So this is my Elite. Actually, this is all my German expansion sets in here. But the Elite of the Reich, if you haven't seen my video, there's all these SS troops here. And, you know, like a lot of them are regular troops. Some of them are militia. Some of them are mountain infantry, as you see. There's Panzer Grenadiers. There's just about every kind of unit, right? Including heavy tanks and regular tanks. And anyway, so there's all those different types of units. And it's difficult to play. Like you have to meet certain conditions, right? Let's just take one of them for example. So like here, any turn that both Belgium and the Netherlands, or both Denmark and Norway are German aligned or possessed, you can do one of these things, or you could do both of them. And so pay 1 IPP to place an SS marker beneath a medium armor unit in Western Germany. So in order to do that, you would have to already have a medium armor in Western Germany, and then at the end of the turn you'd still have to have $1 before you collect your income to be able to do that. That one would be pretty easy because you can do that anytime. But some of them, like here on the January 1939 turn, anywhere in the German home country, you place an IPP under the second marker and make that either a light or a medium armor unit. So you'd have to have a light or medium armor. And again, you'd have to make sure you save that $1, but you've only got one chance to do it. And that's the same like here, when you take out Yugoslavia, you can get these guys without having them there, but you have to pay 3 IPP each, so you're going to have to save a bunch of money for the end of your turn. You know what I mean? So they're all different. Like here, you could do 4 of them at a time, and in 1943, you can do 7 of them in total because there's 2 turns in 1943, right? But you don't have to do them all. You know, you might only be able to do some of them. And so there's all of that. So that's going to be really complicated to manage while you're trying to manage your oil and, you know, and just the game itself. Like the game itself without any expansion sets is a lot to swallow, you know, to make sense of. And to do that and to do the Italians and perhaps the Turks, and hopefully not, but maybe even do the Japanese at the same time. Like you can see, that's a lot to juggle. And we've this is Wednesday. We're going to do it Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I'm going to drive home Sunday. So we've given ourselves 3 full days. That's a little bit more time than we had for our last game, but we didn't take on as much either. We didn't put as many expansions in it. We didn't have the oil or the Elite of the Reich expansions, and like we only had 2.5 days. This time we're going to have 3 days, so we're going to try to get it done. We might have to pull a long one on Saturday if we don't get there. But anyway, it's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. I know some of you are too, because like I got a text today. Have you started that game yet? This guy's waiting for videos back home, right? He's the guy that I'm playing with, Panzer King back home. So he's ready. And I'm just taking you around slowly, showing you RC's board. I'll just refer to them as RC instead of Rank Carcass. It's a little easier that way. But here he's using red units for the Japanese instead of burnt orange. And for the Oh, see what else he's doing different. He's got that color of green down there for Anzac. He does have white for these guys, but he decided to use the just the British ones for those. Regular color for these guys. And then he's got 3 colors for his neutrals. Like I got a bunch of colors for my neutrals, right? Whereas he just does 3. 1 color for the Pro Axis, 1 color for the Pro Allies, and 1 color for the strict neutrals. And that's a really good idea. If I'd have thought of that, then that's probably what I would have done. Instead of making 100 different kind of, it's not 100, but it's a lot, right? A lot of different kind of neutrals, right? But yeah, he's got everything you need here. And here's all the chips, you know, like say you're buying a mountain guy, here you go. There's your mountain chip, right? You just put a dude on that. And your country specific and all the chips that you need and all the markers you need. He's got everything you need here, right? It's going to be, and again, like I said, color coded. He also does that with his ships. So the black would be the battleship and the yellow would be the cruiser and the red's the destroyer and white over here. That's transport. And I like that idea too. Like what I like about it is the instant recognition. When I'm down there and I'm looking up here, when I'm down on the other side of the board over there and these are my guys, you look up there and you can't really see what's in there, right? You're looking, you wonder what is all in there. You have to get up close. Well, now with the color coding, you can see there's black, yellow, red, white, you know, so you know what's in there, and I really like that. What else can I tell you? I think I covered all the expansions. Yeah, so like here, the gray here, that's the Pro Axis. I think the burnt orange, that's the like the normal Japanese guys. He's using those for Pro Allies neutrals. And then the strict neutrals are green, like dark green. The Americans are light green here. And these guys down here are dark green. So those would be strict neutrals. So those are the 3 colors that he's using. So when you're watching the game, watching the videos, you'll know that that's who everybody is. So you think, oh, what are the Japanese doing over here? That's not Japanese. That's the Pro Allies neutrals. So here's the build chart over here. He's only got 1 build chart. I've got 2, but he's only got 1. And that's all you need is 1, right? Just 1 build chart. And he's got some task force markers there from the old Pacific game, not the 1941, but the first Axis and Allies Pacific game. And what else? Oh, I brought the America pieces here. So if anybody wanted to play those, like where is it here? The card. Here it is. There's the Turkey at War. I made up labels for everything. Right? Anyway, so here's the card. If you wanted to play with the bring in the heavies units, you have to qualify for those, right? Like I'm not going to go through them, but you have to make sure that you have done all the things that you need to do, like jet fighter or jet power and whatever, you know, to do something. And then you can build with the America units. And what else? There's his board up there. He I think this is where I got the idea. All his things are magnetized, and he's put it up on the board there. Oh, another thing we're gonna do that rule that I usually do, and that's everybody rolls for a weapon before the game begins. So we're gonna do that before we begin the game tomorrow, and we'll know. Let's put this over here, and we'll know before the game starts which. Oh, I see. It goes above it. I thought it went on. It doesn't. I don't think he's got a magnet on that thing up there. Anyway, so everybody will know who they're playing or what weapon they're gonna have. But we're not going to. Oh yeah, that's right too. He's got another rule where you can develop technology starting on the first turn, but you can only roll for it. You can't build it until July of 1939. It's just so you know you got something to do in the first 6 or 7 turns, because really there's not much to do. Like America only gets what is it, $6 or something like that. You know, there's not much to do, right? Anyway, this is going to be a really good game. I'm really looking forward to it. General Hand Grenade invades RC's castle, for lack of a better term. I don't know what he's going to call his room here, but I'm sure it's going to be good. So watch over the next few days. I'm going to do a video every night. You know, like tomorrow night there will be a video, and the next night and the next night. I'm gonna upload this video tonight, and yeah, we're gonna have a good time, and hopefully a bunch of people show up, and hopefully we give you a good game. I know we're gonna have fun regardless. So tune in again. The ground's already shaken.